Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
What's a 10 out of 10 movie you'd never watch again? Grave of the Fireflies. I bought it on DVD like 20 years ago because that was the only way to watch things at that time. I'd heard so many good things about it. I'm still too afraid to actually watch it. I am unsure if I've even opened yet. I'll check when I get home. It's absolutely worth watching. Watch it early some afternoon so you can get out for a walk in the sunlight afterwards. I don't think I've ever felt as empty as when I got to the end of this for the first time. Such a profound experience. You just have to sit with the horror you just witnessed and process that it has happened, is happening, and will happen as long as war continues to be fought. I went with a friend. She was a big anime fan. She walked out after a few minutes and I was just crying all the way through. I still choke up just thinking of it. But then one of my young adult books was the story of Sasaki Sadako. Schindler's List. A masterpiece, but I don't need my soul shattered twice. I made out with a girl in a movie theater watching this. Unfortunately my mailman was there and he told our parents. A more offensive spectacle they cannot recall. Requiem for a Dream. Brilliantly made but absolutely devastating. I watched Requiem for a Dream in Hotel Rwanda in the same evening. It's been like 20 years and I still haven't recovered. Oh dear. I've always joked that if you're looking to off yourself, just watch Requiem for a Dream and then Monsters Ball back to back. You'll either be so depressed that it'll make it easier, or you'll realize your life isn't so bad and you'll snap out of it. Either way, it should only take 4 hours to speedrun through your decision-making process. The Father. Anthony Hopkins' best performance. My mother's Alzheimer's mirrors his so much that I can't watch it again. The only movies I refuse to watch are movies depicting dementia. I just can't. Manchester by the Sea. Absolutely devastating. Some of the best acting I have ever seen by both Michelle Williams and Casey Affleck. I'll never watch it again. It was really good but never again. Wind River. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen, and I would prefer never to see it again. At the same time, I will recommend it to anyone who will listen. Sharing the trauma. I made the mistake of watching this while on a flight. I was trying not to sob while surrounded by a bunch of strangers, but was only moderately successful. It was a fantastic and brutal movie and I wish I could watch it again on a proper TV and sound system, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Too much. She ran 6 miles, barefoot, in the snow. That's a warrior, loudly crying. Movie made such a powerful statement on grief that has helped me many times. The idea that you have to let yourself feel the pain, you have to take it, because if you push it down and push it away you won't be allowing yourself to remember those lost loved ones at all. All the happy moments, all the good stuff, the mark they left on this world that exists in your memories of them, you rob yourself of that if you can't face the pain that comes with it. And you rob them of that legacy, the good they left behind. Uncut Gems. Clearly a very good movie. But I'm never putting myself through that again, no thank you. Very stressful. That was a movie where I felt this kind of tone running through my body which I realized was tension halfway into it. I was like, stop making the worst decision every time. But of course it wouldn't be a good movie without it. Very stressful. On election night I saw someone tweet, going to go watch Uncut Gems to unstress, and I've never laughed harder in my life. The Killing Fields. Dr. Haring Singh, who portrays the main character, Dith Pran, in the movie, had himself survived the killing fields and eventually came to the United States, takes up acting, earns an Academy Award, but ends up being a victim of America's violence while being mugged in front of his home. I thought he was mugged in a parking lot in LA. The muggers wanted his gold locket which he refused to hand over, since it contained the only photo he had of his wife who'd been killed by the regime, IRC. Not enough people have watched this movie or even heard of it. What's worse is that so many people even know about what happened in Cambodia and its recent history. We are doomed to repeat it. The Road. Unrewatchable now that I'm a dad. The book was even more engrossing. Read the book and it was the bleakest, most depressing thing I'd ever come across. Avoided the film entirely. Dear Zachary, A Letter to a Son. It was absolutely soul-crushing. Fuck that woman and fuck the judicial system that let that shit happen. Fuck that woman, totally. But this movie is an indictment of the judicial system in Canada that looked the other way, too. Every one of those decision-makers ought to feel a sense of lasting shame over their willful blindness. I watched this twice. I don't know why. It's like, all the time passed and I thought it'd be okay, that I could skip the shock and just sort of watch the story unfold. I was dead wrong. That second watch was just as horrific as the first. Edit, typo. The Whale. Great story and acting, but don't want to experience that again. OMG, 100%, that movie fucking wrecked me. I had a patient watch it over and over again. I finally watched it a few weeks ago. Why was my patient doing this to himself? Question mark. Sometimes when I am in a particular emotional state, it feels more affirming to watch a movie that reflects that state. I don't want to watch happy movies when I'm sad, it feels like being mocked. I want to watch something that tells me that other humans have felt this and I'm not alone. Sometimes people just need to be reminded they are capable of feeling so they still know there is something left. And unfortunately, the happy feelings are rarely on demand, and becoming less and less relatable, at least a lot less relatable and common than sadness, loneliness, and despair. Life is Beautiful with Roberto Benigni makes me ugly cry. It's an absolutely heartbreaking and beautiful movie about love and sacrifice, and I just don't know if I can do it again. Wolf of Wall Street. Amazing movie, but zero wolf scene. Plenty of walls and streets though, so for me it evens out. The 2022 version of All Quiet on the Western Front. It is a fantastic movie, but I don't have any desire to see it again. I saw it with a high school history teacher buddy. It came out right at the end of his World War I chapter. His plan was for it to be an optional, extra credit to watch with his class. We went and saw it ahead of time and both immediately said, "Yep, no way we can get that one approved." Quote. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Really great movie, but severely destroyed me after having a recent tough breakup when I watched it a few years ago. Also, Jim Carrey really delivers in a more serious role here. You haven't really seen this movie if you've only seen it once. How do we even know if we've seen it more than once, though? This movie is top 5 for me. Absolutely wonderful. Would rewatch any day. What Dreams May Come. Absolutely wrecked me. I love Robin Williams and somehow hadn't seen this when it was first released. The day I buried my wife, after the kids were in bed, I saw that it was on and, without knowing what it was about, I decided to watch it. I did not make it far. Oh no. Holy hell, what a choice. Bless you, and bless you again for carrying on with whatever situation you are now in. Hope you found peace, and continue to do so. That movie destroyed my wife and I. We cried from 5 minutes in until at least an hour after it was over. Complete wreck. With that, I'd add, with honors, the end of that movie killed me. The Green Mile. This one is worth rewatching for me, mainly because it's really only depressing near the end. The rest is magical and super entertaining, not counting the botched execution. That's a rough scene, maybe the worst death I've ever seen. The botched execution, I mean. Hanks saying, "He's still alive," when all that shit's happening is carved into my memory. Like the drink, only not spelled the same. We need to talk about Kevin. Tilda Swinton can stand on a rotating pedestal and I'll watch that for 2 hours, because I know it's gonna be good. That being said, no interest to see this movie again. Edit, it was good, I just can't watch it again. I would watch her read a dictionary. Hachi, A Dog's Tale. It's an incredible story, but seeing that movie broke something inside of me, cried for hours. Is the dog that sat at the station waiting for his owner that died to get home every day. Yep, I'm going nowhere near that. Hotel Rwanda. The movie didn't even cover half of what was going on. This is actually happening, had a survivor tell her story, and it's still shocking to hear what happened there. About 20 years ago, I translated the personal statement of a survivor from French to English for their asylum case. It took me forever because I was crying my eyes out the whole time. It's not just shocking, it's unimaginable, yet it happened. The book the movie was based on was called We Wish to Inform You That We Are to Be Killed with Our Families Tomorrow. Story after story after story of absolutely unreal violence and how hard people had to become to survive. I listened to an audiobook version last year and still think about it. Come and See. This one was brutal and intense. I was seriously concerned for the psychological well-being of the main character. Marley and Me. Great movie, but absolutely would not recommend to anyone. Edit, after reading the comments I have to reiterate, do not see this movie. Do not even think about this movie. Marley and Me. Great movie, but absolutely would not recommend to anyone. The biggest problem for me is that movie was advertised a comedy. The movie came on the heels of stuff like Wedding Crashers, Cars, and several other comedies starring two people known for comedies. Even if you knew the movie was BSED on real life, I did not. Hollywood usually like to run with the fun parts of a story. Instead, the movie was like 20 to 30 minutes of fun, followed by gut punch after gut punch of misery. I got caught by false advertising on this movie and bridged to Terabithia. Till bitter. Especially if you have pets. American History X. Put your teeth on the curb, is maybe the most horrifying sentence in the English language. It's been years since I've seen it, but that scene has stuck with me, frowning face. I've told my wife that it should be required for high school, but my wife had never heard of it, so I bought for her to watch. That was a couple years ago and it's still on top of the DVD player. I'm sorry. Did you say DVD player? Question mark. I've also mentioned that it should be required for high school. Prisoners. Denis Villeneuve thriller about a child being abducted. Jake Gyllenhaal and Terrence Howard are at their best. Paul Dano is amazing. Hugh Jackman is a force of nature. Their scene where he is interrogating someone and allegedly goes off script to smash a sink had me on the edge of my seat for the entire run-through, but could never watch it again, just because of how uncomfortably tense it was. That said, 11 years on, nothing has ever made me as tense as going into the cinema and watching this. I couldn't even finish it. I don't have kids, but Hugh Jackman made me feel what he was feeling. Had to switch it off. I'm just here to get new movie recommendations. According to these comments, I've seen 2 movies in my life.